Alright, so I got this email today. It was a pretty respectful email, but it was a long email. I didn't read through the whole thing, but it just basically motivated me to make this video response based on the topic alone. He's basically just defending Michael Jai White, saying that he could beat up Bruce Lee. He's saying, that it would have been motivation for Bruce Lee, and it wasn't disrespectful and things of that nature. Just really quickly, I just wanted to comment on that. And he's basically saying, you shouldn't feel this way, and I feel the way that I feel for a reason. Like if I feel offended by something, there's a reason behind it. And I don't feel that other people could speak for me. I mean, I'm just speaking from my heart and how I feel. I feel that it is disrespectful, for somebody like Michael Jai White or anybody to say, oh, I could beat up Bruce Lee. I feel offended, and I just feel that it's another way of like undermining, the significance of a Chinese person in here. I mean, he's like the only person that we have, as Chinese Americans to even be inspired by or even look up to, and then for people to just all of a sudden bash on him, no matter if it's Michael Jai White or whoever, saying that I could beat him up and everything. It's just, as a Chinese American, is hurtful, and I don't see it as respectful. And to me, martial arts, the topic that ended up leading towards is like, should Sifus be challenging other Sifus? Now, to me, there's a certain way to do it, and I feel that generally speaking, the person that challenges another Sifu is somebody who is insecure, like insecure about whatever. But it's not supposed to be like how boxers do it. Like now there's a boxer called Deontay Wilder who's challenging Anthony Joshua, and he's like talking all his trash on camera, and then you see like Conor McGregor talking all his trash to Floyd Mayweather, and they're building up all this hype. That's not what martial arts is supposed to be about, and that's not how they're supposed to approach it. It's not, and first of all, martial arts is not just about who could beat who could beat up the other person. It's not just about that. If anything, it's not about that at all. I mean, because you could challenge other people in different areas very easily and challenge their intelligence. Challenge their understanding and practice of meditation. I mean, martial arts encompasses so many things, but the fact of the matter is, it's an art. And art is not about challenge. Art is just about self-expression. So, once you start getting into this thing about challenging other people and beating people up and things like that, you're kind of more indicating towards sport. And that's not what art is. And Bruce Lee was representing the martial arts, and he was not representing the sports. This is my perspective, but I feel that Sifus shouldn't really be challenging each other. They should just be focusing on expressing their art for what it is and just being true to themselves. Now, there is a video out there where I made a video challenging the Jake Mace guy to a real fight, but at the same time, I justify that video because I'm basically challenging his authority in the Kung Fu. I don't say that he can't teach martial arts or he's not an authority in the martial arts, but I have a problem with him pretty much being an authority to Kung Fu. Because once again, you have all these non-Chinese people kind of stepping in to try to say that they are representing and being the main authority to Kung Fu, and I have a problem with that. I'm not challenging. There's another guy out there, Master Wong, that a lot of people learn from online. I'm not challenging him because that guy, at least he's Chinese. I mean, like, people, if they choose to teach people online, that's up to them, but he says he practices Kung Fu and he's representing Kung Fu being a Chinese person, okay, fine. But the thing is, I just have a problem when, the Chinese martial arts are supposed to be taught by Chinese people, and when somebody that's non-Chinese goes in there and says that he's the main authority, I just have a problem with that. It's kind of like saying, Bruce Lee against Chuck Norris, and then Chuck Norris he says that he's the main authority of the Kung Fu, when really the main authority is Bruce Lee. And once again, it's not even about who can beat who up. It's more about like the ego expression and how much you allow that ego to overtake you. And in the Chinese martial arts, you're not supposed to allow that ego to overtake you and then basically turn you into like an egomaniac. You know, you're supposed to have control of that ego, and you're supposed to basically balance it out with other expressions of softer and more gentle and compassionate expressions where you're not going to become just like a Mayweather, a McGregor, or a boxer out there who's all cocky and arrogant and challenging the whole world, but you're more going to be directing that energy towards, you know, self-development and helping your fellow person rather than beating on your fellow person. And it's a spiritual experience. It's supposed to be it's supposed to lead towards a spiritual growth. And I did get another email from somebody who was, you know, a hater. I didn't read through the whole email either, but he's just basically saying, oh, you know, they're doing UFC now in China, and he's basically saying, hey, you know, blah, 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 blah. He's trying to say that, you know, they're doing it there now, so now what? But the thing is, it's like, I speak against UFC in general, no matter if it happens in China, no matter if it happens in America. I don't agree to the organization at all. And to go back to basically to basically make a point, they have McDonald's in China too now. You know, so American influence, it's gonna go to China. But I'm not just talking about Chinese, I'm not just talking about America, I'm just talking about the way the martial arts should be expressed as far as the truth of it is concerned. There's going to be corrupted people in China, there's going to be corrupted people in America. I live in America myself, but I choose not to be an MMA fighter or to represent that. I want to represent something that's more spiritual, something more meditative, living in America. Now, in China, there's going to be expressions of the martial arts that I disagree with as well. And I will speak against that as well if I lived in China. Just like Bruce Lee spoke against some of the expressions of the martial arts in China at that time as well. And he started to develop his own expression, you know, to balance it out. You know, so, you know, as far as challenging other Sifus are concerned, you don't see Donnie Yen and Jackie Chan and Jet Li challenging each other, talking all this trash to each other, say who they could beat each other up. It's just like, that's immature. That's a bunch of nonsense. That's not what the martial arts is about. And even Donnie Yen, I heard in an interview they asked him, oh, you know, could you beat up Jackie Chan? And then he said no. And they're like, why? You know, yeah, you can. You could beat him up. Don't you think you're better than him? He's like, no, you know, he's my elder. I respect him. You know, it's like, it's not just about beating people up. You know what I mean? Like, your father gave birth to you, and then what? You know, now you're 21, and now you're gonna say that you could beat him up. I mean, it's very disrespectful, and that's not what it's about. You know what I mean? Like, you know. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% as far as challenging other Sifus and taking the martial arts out of the true essence of what it is and focusing only on the combative side. It's not balanced. And, you know, I was surprised when I heard that comment by Michael Jai White because, I mean, like you said, why would you challenge Bruce Lee? First of all, he is no longer here. So my question is, if Bruce Lee were alive, how would that have really gone, you know? But number two, he was a Sifu. He didn't teach all the time because he focused on really getting the martial arts out there and introducing his expression of it to the world. However, he was an authority. He was a teacher. And he influenced a lot of martial artists today. So why would you challenge your Sifu in that way? You know, I know me in particular, you know, with my Sifu, you know, with you love to see your students progress. You love to see them to get stronger, to become more in-depth in the martial arts with the spiritual aspect, with the fitness aspect, and of course with the combative as well. But it's not a matter of, you know, okay, so I think I could take him. You know, I mean, I don't get that. There's no purpose, and again, this is my opinion. But then when it comes down to just the brutal nature of mankind, that's where all of this stuff comes from with UFC And with a lot of sports, sometimes the brutality is unnecessary. You know, I am an athlete as well, and I get it. I get the competitive nature. However, I am also a martial artist, and so I have to implement the spiritual aspect of who I am, of what I am, in everything that I do. So I don't get the need, or why it seems to be required for brutality to be the focus of martial arts, or of some sports as well, you know. And again, when it comes to Sifu's challenging one another, why? You know, why would you focus on the brutal side of human nature instead of coming together and perhaps inspiring one another?
I mean, what I do understand to a certain extent is the reason why it occurs is because of business. You know, one Sifu might have developed to make a lot of money and he's famous, and you know, and then another Sifu is trying to build up and he doesn't have that many students, doesn't make that much money, and then he's challenging the person that has more money, more of fame, so he could overtake him. And that's just a common business practice in general. But the problem is, when it comes to martial arts, you're talking about it's pretty much leads to violence. I mean, you're talking about direct physical, like, confrontation. This is not just Burger King trying to challenge McDonald's.
Yeah.
Or you know, Kentucky Fried Chicken trying to challenge Jimmy John's. I mean, this is like, okay, you know, you have all these students, and I could whoop your ass in a real fight, and then I want to show everybody, I want to show all your students, I want to show the world that you shouldn't be teaching them, because that's another thing that we discussed. You know, like the whole thing about the yoga and then the core training. You're like, that's not even yoga, but they're making all this money. Be like, and then that's like yoga. Be like, no, like we gotta represent like the real yoga. We gotta take that out, and that's kind of what's going on. Because it's like, because the thing is, it's understandable. Because say somebody who doesn't know how to defend themselves, he legitimately cannot defend himself. He doesn't know how to anything about martial arts, but yet he has all these students, all these disciples under something false. And then the mentality of the person that feels that he's real is like, you know, I want to expose him.
Yeah.
You know, I want to expose that he can't fight and that's not the real stuff. And I could understand that. You know, I could understand that. But the thing is, you know, but when somebody can legitimately, like, he's teaching the real stuff, and then somebody who's just basically, say, jealous, or he just wants a piece of that money, or he just wants the fame, and he's approaching it from that perspective, then that's a problem. You know, then that becomes an issue too, because you're not doing it in a way of exposing corruption. You're doing it because for your own selfish needs and your own, because you want to be where he's at. It's not because you need to expose corruption.
But it's ego.
Yeah, it's all ego.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm going at. It's just, I mean, Bruce Lee himself, when he was younger, he was challenging a bunch of people all over, but that's when he's younger. That's teenage Bruce Lee. But as you get older and you get wiser, I mean, like with Michael Jordan, when he's all dope and at this prime, I mean, is he going to be challenging like little 5-year-olds? I mean, but the thing is, it's like, then people start disrespecting Michael Jordan when he's in his 50s and 60s because he can't do what he used to do. And that's the thing that I'm talking about, is just like, you know, the people that are giving these challenges, they're going to get old too, and you're not going to do what you're doing either. Yeah. You know, and it's not like, what I'm basically saying, it's not all about the physical. I mean, I'm talking about sports. That's sports. But art is art. You know, it's just, it's like you're supposed to be looking at it from a perspective of the overall person's entire life, not just based on, oh, you know, this is what he could fight and that's it.
Yeah, and then another thing is also looking at different phases of life. So I get what you're saying about capitalizing off of, you know, off of the sport or off of the martial arts. I get it. People have to make money. However, use wisdom. Use wisdom. It is not always about the fight. It is not always about having to challenge through the fight. Challenge in other aspects of the martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, or how about this? Just pay homage to the elder, to the founders of the martial arts, and then create a challenge within yourself. Okay, you know, this is what he taught. This is what I learned from him. And you know what? I'm forming my own thing. I'm developing my own thing, and I want to build on that. I want to see how far I can take it, or I want to innovate and add something to it. So those are other ways that you can challenge, and you can capitalize off of those types of challenges as well. But it doesn't always have to come down to the fight. And then when it comes to, what was the last thing that you said that you're talking about? Phases of life. So yeah, so Michael Jordan, he was who he was when he was in his 20s and 30s and his 40s. And the thing is, and I kind of laugh to myself when I hear people talk about, well, you know, well, do you think you could be better than Michael Jordan? Well, hell, I mean, Michael is 50 something now, right? So of course, if you try to put a 50-year-old Michael Jordan up against a 20-something-year-old, you know, current NBA player, what do you think is going to happen? But you cannot undo the man's greatness, okay? And then when this 20-year-old or 30-year-old player currently right now, when he turns 50 or 60, what do you think is going to happen then? The same thing. So it's about the phase of life, and it's being great. Depending upon what phase of life you're in. Okay, so you're great when you're in the phase where you're playing. You can be great in the phase after you retire and whatever else you're going to do, be it philanthropy work, be it, you know, a coach, be it inspiring youth to become great athletes and great intellects. It could be any of those things. So you have to look at the phase of life, people. And you cannot say, you know what, I could beat Michael Jordan right now because you, of course you can. You're 23 years old, you are in your prime playing. But could you beat him when he was on the court? Okay? When he was 20-something years old. But the thing is, for that, it's all irrelevant because he's not. He's 50-something. And then to challenge Bruce Lee, Bruce has passed on. So it's irrelevant to say, I could beat up Bruce Lee. I can see a kid doing that. You know, I can see a little boy, little girl doing that. They're like, hey, my daddy can beat up Bruce Lee. I know he beat him because that's who they are. That's where they are. But as an adult, you know, grow, learn from him, innovate, add, create what your expression of the martial art. You know, you have a lot of people that you can use from history to grow, to learn from, to grow in wisdom. You know, but I just don't get always, you know, turning back to the whole, you know, brutality side or allowing the ego to take over, especially when it comes to martial arts, because it's far more than fighting in combat.
You know, the thing is, like, what I noticed too is like with the Chinese, you know, with Donnie Yen, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Bruce Lee, they went through film to build their own reputation. It's not they didn't go like fighting each other over it, but it's just like they expressed their acting skills, their art through the film to gain their own audience and gain their own reputation. That's another way of just bringing yourself up, you know. And there's a difference between two actors, you know, say who's a better actor, Al Pacino or Robert De Niro. It's just like they're not gonna fight it out. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, hey, you know, it's subjective. You know, and you know, some people like Al Pacino more, some people like Robert De Niro more. But Al Pacino might have more supporters than Robert De Niro, but it doesn't mean that he's better than Robert De Niro. It's just influence. You know, Taylor Swift is one of the most popular singers out there now. Probably sell a lot more records than Tupac ever sold. But I'm not a fan of her. I like Tupac. Does it mean that Tupac's better than her? No. Does it mean that she's better than Tupac? No. It's just basically who do you connect with as an artist. And you don't need, oh, you know, Tupac to resurrect from the grave to see if he could beat up Taylor Swift to see who's better. Or, you know, oh, which movie sold more in the box office. Okay, that actor's better. It's not about that. It's like who do you connect with and who you don't. You know, I don't connect with Michael Joe White. You know, I don't connect with Jackie Chan. I connect the most with Bruce Lee. I connect, you know, a little. You know, I connect a little bit to Jet Li. Donnie Yen, I'm not that. You know, I'm not a big fan of him. It's mainly just Bruce Lee. But why? Can anybody explain that? It's because it's just me. You know, he connects with me. And that's what's important. It's not, I don't need to see Bruce Lee beat up Donnie Yen, to beat up Jackie Chan, to beat up Jet Li, to beat up Muhammad Ali, beat up Mike Tyson. I don't need to beat up anybody. It's like I connect with him, I learn from him, and that's that. You know, can I beat him up? I mean, I use him as inspiration. I want to be able to be as good as him one day. I wish I could be as good as him and as famous as him one day. And I'll always strive to try to get to that. But can I beat him up? I mean, he's dead now. I'm gonna die too. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, what I'm thankful for is I was able to at least live longer than him, to express my art longer. But as far as beating him up, it's not relevant. It's like, that's, like you're saying, it's childish. You know, it's not about beating anybody up. It's just about learning from people, respecting people. If you don't have, basically, when you start challenging somebody, saying that you could beat them up, that basically means you lost respect for the person. That you're pretty much claiming you have nothing else to learn from the person because you're better than that person. So now you're looking at yourself, you're so damn good that you can't learn from this person, you can't learn from anybody because you could beat everybody up. And it's just like, when will there come a day when you will admit that, no, I can't beat this person up, I submit to this person, I surrender to this person, I will learn from this person. But if you constantly feel that you could beat up all these different people, that's the thing, becomes the barrier to your learning. You know, and that's the ego problem. And America, that's what the problem is. They have ego problems. And that's where the Chinese martial arts tries to come in to try to fix that. You need to lower your ego and just learn to be open, learn to surrender, and just learn to just basically bow down to something greater. And if it's not going to be Bruce Lee, then you got to learn to bow down to God or whatever, or just whoever, to learn, you know, to be open. Bruce Lee's just a symbol of where your ego's at. Do you feel that you're on top of the world, or do you surrender to existence? You know, and that's what the East teaches you to surrender. That I don't care how fit you are, I don't care how great you think you are, but the fact of the matter is, compared to the whole, you're nothing. And you are a part of the whole. You know, and if once you start to understand that, then you'll finally be at peace with yourself. You'll stop like trying to, you know, rebel against everything and try to, you know, beat up everything around you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like, hey, you know, I mean, just recently I decided to, you know, I've been not carrying my gun anymore because I've learned to just be at ease. Like, just trust. Like, not to be defensive all the time. And just, you know, if death comes, it comes. You know, it's just surrendering more. You know, it's just like the martial arts, it's supposed to lead to a spiritual experience. If it starts making you become more egoistic, more aggressive, more violent, more like you could just, like that you feel that you're better than other people, then you're not learning the martial arts. You're learning something else. You're using martial arts as a way of becoming more narcissistic and just, you know, basically enhancing your ego. You're basically using the martial arts as a way to lead towards mental instability. And martial arts is supposed to heal you, and it's supposed to make you more compassionate and caring to those around you, less competitive, less aggressive, more humble. If that is not what it's doing, then you're not going in the right direction. You know? So, but yeah. Alright.